My name is Giselle Kolenik, and I'm a statistical consultant at the University of Michigan's Center for Statistical Consultation and Research. In today's lesson, we will learn how to create nodes using NVivo 9. Nodes form the backbone of an NVivo project. They enable you to extract common themes from all of the text data that you've collected by providing containers to hold your ideas, themes, people, and places. The process of linking your data to these nodes is called coding. Nodes can be put in a hierarchical structure, also known as a tree structure, with children nodes underneath parent nodes, representing sub-themes underneath broader themes. Your node structure determines to a great extent how well you're going to be able to answer your research questions, so keep this in mind as we work through this lesson. Nodes can contain ideas and opinions expressed by participants or other units of observation in your study, and we generally refer to these types of nodes as theme nodes. Nodes can also represent people or places, and those will be discussed in another section. To start, let's navigate to our NVivo project file. Our project has 4 interview transcripts from Barbara, Margaret, Robert, and Thomas. If I select on the Node tab in Navigation View, we'll see that in the main node section, we do not have anything coded yet. To create a new node in NVivo, it's as simple as right-clicking in this white space and selecting New Node. Next, we need to provide a name for our node. Here, let's create a node called Attitude. You can also provide a description for the node that you're creating, and this is often very useful, especially when you're working with a team of people. You want to be sure that your definition of attitude, or positive attitude, or negative attitude, is the same as others in your team would define it. So oftentimes when people are working in teams, they'll put lengthy descriptions of what would constitute a code under this particular node in this section. Here, I won't provide a description, nor will I provide a nickname. Nicknames are used if your node name is very long, which I often don't do. Under hierarchical name, we see nodes//attitude. What this means is this node is being saved in the general nodes folder. If I go ahead and click OK, I've now created a new node. Nothing has been coded to this node yet, so we see that there are 0 source documents associated with this node, and there are 0 references associated with this node. If I wanted to create a child node underneath this parent node of Attitude, I can do so by right-clicking on the Attitude node itself. So I will select Attitude and then right-click and select New Node. Let's call this new node Positive. Notice where this node is being saved. It's being saved in the General Nodes folder underneath the Attitude node. We'll click OK. And we now see Positive listed underneath Attitude. We can also create negative Attitude by selecting on Attitude again and selecting New Node. We'll call this new node Negative and say OK. If you're ever interested in modifying any of your node properties after you've created a node, all you need to do is right-click on the node of interest and select Node Properties. Here, you'll be able to change the name of the node, modify a description, provide a nickname, etc. Here we've created nodes before coding. We've created nodes before opening any of our source documents and reading through them and finding sections of text that we want to attach notes to. It's just as easy to go ahead and create nodes while coding. To do this, let's open a source document. I'll select the Sources tab, and let's go ahead and double-click on Barbara. When the researcher is reading through Barbara's interview, they may come across this first paragraph and say to themselves, this paragraph pertains to this idea of local identity. But local identity is a node that currently doesn't exist in our list of nodes. I can highlight this section of text using my mouse and right-click. When I do this, I have an option to code selection. We can either code our selection at an existing node or code our selection of text at a new node. Here we'll code at a new node, and let's call this node Local Identity. Once you've created the name, you can go ahead and say OK. And we will have now coded this section of text to the node called Identity, Local Identity. To code text to an already existing node, it's just as simple as coding to a new node. Let's go ahead and open up Thomas's document by double-clicking on it. These first couple lines of Thomas's document pertain to local identity, a node that already exists. When I highlight this section of text using my mouse, I can right-click and select Code Selection, Code at Existing Nodes. Here, I see all of the nodes that I have created thus far. To see all of the children nodes located under Attitude, I can click on this plus sign, and it expands what I see. Here, I just want to code to local identity. It's as simple as checking the box next to the node name. Notice that if I also wanted to click on other nodes, I can do that as well. So when you code a selection of text, you don't have to code to one node at a time. If you have many nodes that can be coded to that section of text, feel free to code to all of them. Also note, at the top here, we have a button for Automatically Select Hierarchy. If I wanted to code both negative and positive attitude along with the parent node of attitude, I could check the box for Automatically Select Hierarchy and then select the box next to attitude. It would automatically select all of the children nodes associated with the parent node. Similarly, by unselecting, it'll unselect for the children nodes as well. One thing to note finally in this section is that if I check the box next to nodes, it will select all nodes in my list. Usually we do not want this box checked. If we need to navigate to nodes, we can simply just select on the name. I'm going to go back and select Local Identity. And say OK. Now when I go to my nodes list, I see that I've coded 2 sources to local identity and 2 references to local identity. I also notice that I've misspelled local identity. To change the spelling, I can right-click on this node name, select Node Properties, and change the name. Notice that my sources and my references have not changed. If I would like to view what I've coded to local identity, I can double-click on the node itself, and now I see both sections of text that have been coded to this node. First, I see Barbara's response, Next, I see Thomas's response. Oftentimes, you may need to move your node structure around. You may want to rearrange things in your node structure. This is very easy to do in NVivo, and it can be done at the very end of your project after you've coded all of the pieces of information that you would like to code. This is part of the beauty and flexibility of NVivo that people love, is that when you move your nodes around, when you change your structure, all of the code associated with that node moves with it. So if I changed my mind and thought that local identity was actually part of attitude, I could right-click on local identity and select Cut. Next, I could right-click on attitude and simply say Paste. What I've done is taken local identity from a single node standing by itself and turned it into a child node underneath attitude. All of the sections of text associated with local identity have now been placed under this attitude parent node. If I want to move local identity back to where it was, I can right-click on it, select Cut, and then right-click in the white space. Next, I'll select Paste, and now local identity is back to its old self. I can also merge two nodes together. This can be very useful when you're working on a project over an extended period of time. At the beginning of your study, you may decide to be very specific. But by the time you get to the end of your study, you may realize that you have many different nodes that represent the same construct. To merge these nodes together, you can right-click on the node of interest, select Cut, and then right-click on the node you would like to merge into. You can select Merge into Selected Node and say OK. Now anything that would have been coded at negative attitude would have been merged into anything coded with positive attitude. Note that once you merge nodes together and save your project and close out of it, you cannot undo this action, so do it very cautiously. This concludes our lesson on how to code in NVivo.